Next question though, outside of the top three teams, because I feel like the top three teams in the West have separated themselves from everyone else amongst the pack. But if you had to choose one team, who do you think has potential to be the biggest threat outside the top three?
So what I have for that is not much. You got the Jazz, you got the Mavericks, and that's basically it. Now, the Jazz are, I think they're first in points per game, and the Mavs are third in defense in opponents' points per game. They're fourth and fifth right now. They can knock each other out in the playoffs if the seedings don't move. And then you're talking about, if we're talking about a threat in the playoffs, and one of those teams is gone, Jazz aren't really that big of a threat because of Joe Ingles being injured. And we don't know how much of an impact he's actually making on that team, as far as how much they're winning, their overall morale. And then by the time they get to the playoffs, he's a very, very experienced player for them. We don't know what his impact does as far as him not playing. Now, if we're talking about Mavericks, we haven't really seen Kristaps Porzingis do anything in the playoffs. We don't know how much he's gonna do when it comes to that as a threat. You know what I'm saying? They don't have as far as I know, they don't have Hardaway right now.
Yeah,
and he's a really, really good defensive player too. Brunson, beast. Playoffs, I have no doubt about how he's gonna play since Villanova. He's been a beast. Luka, I think he's gonna get it done. But as far as the threat, I would probably have to pick the Mavericks just because, Luka probably sees what the playing field is and how he's going to put his team on his back. I can see it being them because of the defense that they bring. But I mean, the top three, nobody, again, you just said, like you said, the top three is pretty solidified. I don't see any other team in the West being a threat. Now, if the Lakers do make trades, then I would have to go with them just because of LeBron James, and that's it.
Yeah. Nah, that makes sense. I feel like PG is more likely to come back, and if PG's playing with the new acquired pieces and knowing their championship pedigree and seeing how they had some form of success in the short stint in the playoffs, that would be kind of scary as well too. But that's still a certain level of uncertainty as well too, even with the Lakers. So I agree with you. I would go with Dallas Mavericks, and shout out to, like you said, their defense, and that's in part because of Jason Kidd as well too. Obviously, last year, Porzingis' role was kind of reduced, and they felt like the best way to be successful is to just have five out and just let Luka operate, and then Porzingis was a spot up shooter. Obviously, I think he's having some knee issues, and he also had COVID as well too. But he's shown glimpses this year of when he's fully healthy. He's still a dangerous threat as well too. You can argue with that small sample size the year before in the bubble, before he hurts his knee, him and Luka were looking like one of the nastiest duos behind AD and Bron as well too. So with Luka's experiences, the past 2 years going to the playoffs, with Jason Kidd's, grit and grind style, I think they would be a scary team as well too, just because of the strength of Luka. I mean, the only person that's been in Luka's way has been Kawhi Leonard the past 2 years. So with no Kawhi this year, finally we don't have to see Dallas versus Clippers again. Too much anxiety for me. But I think Dallas, depending on the Hardaway situation, because I think he had a fractured foot. I don't know how long that takes to heal. But even without Hardaway, honestly, I think Dallas could fuck around and get to the second round for sure. I think they could fuck around, and I think they could scare and beat Memphis just because of the respect, the attention to detail you have to give to Luka. But Golden State and Phoenix would be tough. But I think Dallas could definitely make some noise in the playoffs this year for sure, just because of the strength of Luka. He's a dog. I mean, I saw him play live twice, and he's a nightmare. So we're going to see what happens as well, too. Obviously, Memphis has had that playoff feel last year. I think they played, 5 games with Utah. But it's going to be interesting to see for sure as well. So I wouldn't mind seeing Utah versus Dallas in the first round. But I think outside those teams that I mentioned, the Phoenix Suns, the Golden State Warriors, the Memphis Grizzlies, you definitely have to, have Luka and the Dallas Mavericks on your radar for sure.